Good morning, everyone. This is Michele Hughes from Ageless and Timeless. Today, I have a guest that I've been talking to for quite a while because he's a very close friend of my friend, Rob Fletcher, who is the Senior Vice President of Business Development for Muscle and Fitness, which is one of our podcast distribution sites. As people who have been watching me for a while know, that we are very much positioned to the demographic of athletes and fitness professionals and people who are generally healthy but want to stay that way or even improve. We all want to improve. We can't stop that journey. And so this is my guest is Eric Brozer, and he is a really well-renowned, a well-recognized bodybuilder, and he's going to tell you all about his journey here, how he got to where he is today. But I was reading his bio, and what really shocked me was that Eric, by the way, good morning.
Morning.
I was just so shocked when I learned that you were once 125 pounds or something like that. Is
Yes,
that true, or was that a little bit of a stretch?
not a stretch at all. I was an extremely skinny kid. And when I started this journey into the whole bodybuilding thing, yeah, I was actually the same height I am now, which is just under 6 feet, and I weighed 125 pounds, and a strong wind can blow me over. I was a good athlete. I was able to play sports really well, but I had like just no muscle on my body or no visual muscle, and I just weighed 125 pounds. And that's why all I wanted to do was put some weight on and be more, normal weight. It wasn't really, I wasn't intending on being a bodybuilder.
So what made you change your direction?
I was picked on a lot as a kid, especially when I got into like junior high school. All the bigger guys, for some reason, I don't know why, decided to target me. And that was really, really tough for me, a tough time. Being picked on and not really feeling like I had anything that I could do about it. And the first thing I did is actually started taking martial arts. So I did that for a number of years. And ironically enough, my martial arts teacher, my main teacher, he had actually got into bodybuilding during the time that I was working with him. And I was watching his, body change. And I was very, very interested. So I wanted to know where he worked out and everything like that. And I was always interested, even when I was a young kid. I was always interested in, athletes or movie actors, anyone who had a muscular physique, even comic book superheroes. That always fascinated me. But I never really looked at myself as being able to do that. But then when I saw my martial arts teacher building, very, very close friend of mine, my friend Mitch Dinowich has been my friend for 50 years. He was very heavy. I was very skinny, and we decided to start bodybuilding together. I wanted to put weight on and just, be more normal. He wanted to lose weight, so it was a good combination. And that's what we did. We started doing it. Actually, we got a little home gym together in my basement, started at age 16, and we went to work.
I think this actually says something about epigenetics, because if genetically you were predispositioned to be 125 pounds and just under 6 feet, and yet you had an ability through epigenetics, in other words, you altered your genes by your lifestyle or by your activities and your diet, which is really all part of lifestyle. So what would you say about that? Would you comment on the role of genetics and epigenetics in your development and your evolution?
I think that, I mean, all of us are born, obviously with a body type, in bodybuilding, they normally refer to it as ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. So an
Yeah.
ectomorph is tending towards to being skinnier, fast metabolism. That's their natural body type. Endomorph is usually a little bit heavier, has a little bit more muscle in the body, but usually has trouble losing body fat. So it'd be like a thicker type of person. And then a mesomorph is the perfect thing for bodybuilding, because then they're just naturally muscular with low body fat and they easily put on muscle. So that's the best body type. But most people are a combination of these things. And very,
Right.
very few people are strictly one or the other. But I don't believe that you can actually alter your actual genetic map, but you can work with it intelligently, consistently, with dedication and passion, and you can bring out the best of your genetics. Now, obviously, somebody who is more ectomorphic like I was, obviously I had the ability to put on muscle, but for me, it's going to be a much harder journey to put on muscle than a mesomorph or even an endomorph. If you're an
Mhm.
endomorph and you want to lose body fat, it's going to be harder for you to do that than a mesomorph or an ectomorph. So you have to learn what your genetic tendency is, and then you have to base your program on what your genetic makeup is and how you can, to the best of your ability, work with your genetics and bring out whatever it is that you're trying to do. So for me, it was a much more difficult journey than for somebody else who might be, more naturally muscular. But I was very, very determined and worked very hard for many years to bring out the best in myself. And to this day, I'm still working on it.
Well, this is also another commentary about human nature and passion and desire and commitment and goal setting and all the things that we hear about in all these, life coach trainings. And you didn't have that person or that training. You just knew it inside yourself. You felt it, and then you just set on a path, and you designed your own journey by just being determined to change. So I really want anyone that's watching today to really be inspired by Eric's experience and his accomplishments, because this is something that very often people say, oh, I can't do that because of one reason or another, and they come up with all kinds of excuses. But you didn't do that. You said, look, I'm here. I don't like where I am. I don't like being picked on. I'm going to do something about this. And you were bound and determined with all the different facets that go into that to change. So let's go through that, because I think people need to understand what it took to go from being 125 and under 6 feet to being what you are today, which I assume is over 200 pounds, right? 200
I'm
and
probably more like 250.
250.
So I
But,
actually doubled my body weight.
but
Yeah.
how much, what is your muscle mass?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, my body fat percentage is, like around 9%. So I mean, I'm very lean at this size.
Right,
So I would say that my body fat, I look lower in body fat at this weight than I did probably when I was a kid. So
right.
I mean, I literally probably added a good solid 125 pounds of muscle to my body
Wow.
over a period of time, which is that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. I added another person to myself.
That's
So
that's what you did. Wow. Okay, so let's go through the steps and how you got there. Just take us through, those first moments when you made the decision that I am going to be different than what I am today. And then what did you do, and who inspired you? The martial arts teacher, obviously. Who else was on your path to help you to get these achievements?
well, I mean, it was really, mostly, like I said, I was always a fan of any athlete or actor or uh, anybody out there that I saw who had a lot of muscle. I always looked to these people as special. I was always impressed by that. That was something that always impressed me, and maybe it was because I was such a skinny kid that I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's so incredible. Um,
Well, they
but
were role models. So, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I would
yeah,
assume.
you like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or
Yeah,
anybody who I saw that was certain. One of my favorite baseball players of all time. This goes back a way. His name was Reggie Jackson. He played for the Yankees. He was very muscular. He did a lot of weight training in his. So whenever I would see him go up to bat, and he'd be wearing like a short sleeve kind of shirt, I'd see these big arms, and I'd be like, oh my god, that's so impressive. So anyone who I saw that was very physically fit with muscle was impressive to me. But nobody. There was really nobody around me except for my best friend Mitchell, who I mentioned, that had
hmm
any confidence that I could do this. I mean, most people thought that I was wasting my time because they're like, no, you're just born to be skinny. That's just the way it's going to be for you. You're never going to really gain muscle because you're just not made for that. Um, and I just did not listen to anyone. I just said, no, I mean, I can do this. Now, did I expect to be a bodybuilder that competed and, though ended up on a magazine cover? No, I didn't expect that. I just wanted to kind of create an armor for myself. I wanted to feel better about myself. I wanted to feel more secure. I wanted to stop the people from picking on me. There was just a lot of those reasons that went into it. So
hmm
I basically just did a lot of research. I didn't have any I didn't really have anybody teaching me, hey, Eric, this is what you got to eat. Hey, Eric, this is how you have to train. It was just more me doing research. So I started reading. I started reading books by every single bodybuilder that had a book out there. I started doing research. I started just putting together a program for me that made sense. So I would just gather all the information that I possibly could, and I would sift through it. And some things I would say, this makes sense to me. Let me try it. But I tried everything. Like I was like, because everybody had different training programs, different ideas. Because everybody comes from, maybe they learned from somebody else or whatever influenced them. So I decided to try everything. And then slowly over time, I started to hone things down to become a program for myself, which even to this day, as you get older, your body changes, your metabolism changes, your hormones change, everything changes. So you have to keep evolving your program in order to keep making progress. So even to this day, I do that. But I just started off, like I said, we had a little gym in my basement with basic equipment. And I was kind of the leader. My friend was kind of the follower. And he just said, all right, whatever you tell me to do, we're going to do.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Water and Wellness. Water and Wellness is one of the best companies to find purified water. They have a countertop system that I use, and I travel with it all the time. So I would highly recommend you look at that. If you use the Ageless code, you'll get a 10% discount. waterandwellness.com/pages/Ageless and Timeless. That's how you can order to get the discount. So visit waterandwellness.com or call 877-296-6880 to learn how to take control of your drinking water and learn about all those natural additives to optimize your health and longevity.
And I think that maybe we weren't doing everything correct in the beginning. We were probably doing too much, probably training too much, probably training for too long. But, I had so much passion and so much desire and so much dedication to it that what I was doing was working. And of course, the biggest part for me was I had to just start eating. And I didn't really know, back then I didn't really know a lot about diet and nutrition, obviously, like I do now, or I did years after that. So in the beginning for me, it was like just eat, just get calories in, because I was young. My body just utilized everything, and I just needed to just gain weight. So I just would eat all day long. I was just eating, junk food, good food, whatever disgusting protein powders they had out there. I just ate, and my body started to respond. I think in the first year of working out and doing that, I think I gained almost maybe 40 pounds. So I think I went from about 125 to 165. It wasn't all perfect, it
Right.
probably wasn't all muscle, but it was
Right.
just weight. So I started to feel a little bit better about myself, get stronger. And then, like I said, I just kept on learning. One thing about me was that I was always wanted to learn more. So, I was just constantly researching and reading and just sucking it all in and just being like, I really want to know about this. I want to know why the body grows, why the body loses body fat. What's the science behind it? So that was my work from the beginning.
Yeah, so I do think that, again, we always have to look at the deeper meaning of all of this and to understand human behavior and why we do the things that we do. So in your case, if I could just extrapolate for a moment and say, what are the qualities about yourself that allowed you to stay on course and to, never give up? That was one quality, never give up. Curiosity about the path that you were on, and learning as much as you could from the experts, and maybe not always the people that you would turn to today, now that you're far more evolved, but at that time they were your teachers, and they weren't directly in your life. They were there through somewhat of a passive way, because you had to go find them through books and literature. But anyway, I think that curiosity to learn, that thirst for learning. So these are, qualities that everybody that's watching today needs to ask themselves: do I possess these qualities that will allow me to set a goal and never be undeterred, never give up, and no matter what happens? And this is what, Eric, I would, give you great kudos for your accomplishments, because not always do people look at you, they say, oh, you were here, there at one point, now you're here. But they don't really look at what it took in terms of the real depth of your character and your person and your soul, at your soul level. that made you into what you are today. So anyway, I just wanted to make that point because I'm always about the deeper meaning of behind things, and in your case, it doesn't. You don't have to go very deep. It's very obvious that you are a very determined and extremely disciplined. So what were some of the learning curves that you had to go through during that period? Now, you were 16, but now, these many years later, you've had a lot of right hand turns and, probably dead ends and so forth. So, share with us some of the experiences you had that you would help to guide someone else not to make those same mistakes. And particularly, I'm thinking in diet and nutrition, because that's one of the biggest areas. And then, of course, supplements. And then, not the least of importance is your actual workout. So can you kind of dive in for us and tell us, where you were then, what you learned not to do and to do by experience, and what you would now do today in your coaching? I know that's a big question, but
Yeah, that's a problem. Well, I think, like I said, in the beginning, when you first start working out, in general for anyone, you could do a lot of things wrong and still make progress because you're doing something that your body wasn't doing before. So even if you're maybe not doing every exercise correctly, maybe you're not eating the perfect diet, you're still giving your body a stimulus that it's never had before. So you're going to probably make some progress. And I think that's the way I was in the beginning. Even though I was still pretty good about learning exercise form and technique, I would really try to follow the bodybuilders that were there before me, and try to do things right. Perhaps I wasn't always doing things right. Perhaps, like I said before, I might have been doing too much because I was so enthusiastic. And people have to understand that when it comes to bodybuilding, more is not necessarily better. It's about doing the right amount of training, and then allowing your body to recover, because you do not build muscle in the gym. You tear muscle down in the gym. That's your stimulus. You build muscle when you're at rest, when you're eating, when you're sleeping, when you're resting. So you have to understand that there is a balance there. If you train too much, you might go past your ability to recover, which is another part of genetics, because there are people out there who can take an enormous amount of training and thrive on it. And then there are people out there who can very easily overtrain. And if they spend more than 45 minutes in the gym, their body has trouble recovering. So you have to discover this about yourself. So it's just I encourage people, to, especially now, because things are so much different now than they were back then. Now with social media, the whole world has changed. I mean, it's just, there's so many people out there putting out so much content on so many platforms. You have to be very, very careful who you follow, who you listen to. You got to really, really make sure that you're listening to the right people, because there's a lot of people out there who don't put out the best content. They might put things out there that don't apply to you, maybe just apply to them. I have to, as a coach, I have to understand everybody's body. I have to understand all different types of limitations, all types of injuries, all types of genetics, their work schedule, everything. There's so many things to take into consideration. I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of the younger guys have out there is that, they'll just go on YouTube or whatever, and they'll find their favorite bodybuilder who is this, Olympia competitor, one of the best in the world. And they'll be like, oh, I want to be like him, or I want to be like her. So let me just do what they do. But you can't do that, because number one, those people who you see on those big stages are, number one, they're genetic freaks. They're the ones who are on the farthest, highest level of genetics for building muscle. They're the people who, like, for instance, somebody who plays an instrument. They're the people who pick up a guitar, they never had a lesson, and they know how to play it. It's like unbelievable, because they're just wired for it. So you can't look at these. Very few of us are in that 99.9% percentile of genetics. So you can't follow what they do. Second thing you have to understand also is that there is the reality that there are performance enhancing drugs that are, that a lot of these, will take. And I'm not making a judgment on them. I'm just saying that you have to understand that that's part of it as well. So because they do that, and because this is their living, They may be able to just eat, train, eat, and sleep. Their body can recover a lot better. They have, extra things turbocharging them. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to you could take some of the stuff that they do, but don't follow it 100%. But you can't be somebody who's 16 or 17 years old just getting into this and think you're going to train like somebody who is one of the best in the world who does it for a living. So you have to be very, very careful about who you follow. You have to do like what I did. You have to do a lot of research, a lot of experimentation. I always tried to keep a notebook of programs that I would use for, say, like 8 weeks at a time, whether it be a diet or training program. How did it affect my body? How did my body look before and after? How was my strength? How was my sleep during that time? If this was working for me, okay, let me put this and integrate this into my program. If this is not working for me, let me put this out of my program and then try to find something else. So if you really, really want to be good at this. And this, I'm speaking mostly to the people out there who are of average genetics, which is most of us, average genetics, who still want to build a spectacular physique. And everybody can. Everybody can. Average genetics. Listen, I had what looked like zero genetics. I still ended up turning professional as a bodybuilder, magazine cover, ads, everything. I did it. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of experimentation. It was a lot of, like I said, integrating things, getting rid of things, trying to learn from some of the best. And you don't only go to bodybuilders, go to coaches like myself, go to people who train other people, go to exercise scientists. There's a lot of people out there who may not have the physique that you're after, but they have the knowledge. Maybe they're a coach, they train others. They don't necessarily want to look like them, but they train them. So don't just go to bodybuilders. You have to really expand your knowledge base, learn everything you can about nutrition, supplementation. It's a process. And if you really, really want to be good at this, you have to really, really throw yourself into it 100%. Unless you could, hire a coach or a mentor who's really, really good and they can guide you, which is what I do now. But if you're on your own, you could still do it. You just have to take your time and, be careful of who you listen to, who you follow. And just put your mind to it and you'll get there. More than anything, it's about dedication, consistency, discipline, and passion and belief in yourself. Those things are more important than anything.
No, you just said exactly what I think our viewers need to hear, which is what I was trying to, talk about a few moments ago, which are, go deeper and look at the characteristics of the person that allows them to go from A to B, which is a huge distance of achievement, and in your case, mega huge. So, tell us about what happens. Well, first, I have a question to ask you. Why is it that most trainers are more rep oriented? They don't really train you. They just want you to go into the gym and do repetitions, and then somehow or other that passes off as training. Why is that? How is that different from how you are coaching people?
Most of the trainers out there, again, this is the problem with today. You have to be very careful who you listen to. Most coaches out there put together cookie cutter programs for people, so it's a kind of one size fits all. But how could you put together a program for a 16-year-old who wants to gain weight for football versus a 42-year-old man who he has 3 kids now and he works a full-time job and he just wants to kind of get his body back to where it was when he was in his early 30s. They're completely different programs. Same thing with women. I mean, what happens if a woman wants to look more like a bikini model versus a woman who she had 3 children and she just wants to get her body back? You can't give people cookie cutter programs. It doesn't work. We're all individuals. Yes, we all have generally 2 eyes, nose, mouth. We have a heart, we have lungs. But our genetic makeup is completely different. Our circumstances are different. Our time limitations are different. There's so many differences between us as individuals that you have to individualize your program. So coaches who just give people, here, do this, and I see it all the time, and it makes me crazy. Those are the people who they want to have 1,000 clients. They're just in it for the money because the more clients they could put out there on the program, they don't care whether they really get results or not. They just want to make it easy so they can give everybody the same workout and it doesn't take a lot of time. The
Mm-hmm.
difference with somebody like me is that, of course, I want to make a good living. We all want to make a good living. But for me, it's all about results. And I want to be the kind of coach that I would have wanted to have when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So my programs are 100% individualized. I gather my information about each person. I have an extensive questionnaire. Now I have a way for you to do a phone consult with me for free. We can talk as well. And I will put together a program, diet training, that is based on the equipment that you have available. Maybe you train in your house with limited equipment. Maybe you train in a full-size gym. Maybe you train in an apartment gym. I want to know what equipment you have available so I can put together a program based on that equipment. I want to know, do you have any injuries that I have to worry about? Do you have any perhaps conditions or illnesses that I need to know about that could affect you? You know, I want to see what you look like now. I want to know what you are. Send me a picture of the body that you'd like to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Take everything to account. There is not one client that I've ever had in my life that's had the same program as another client, ever. Sometimes there could be some similarities, bodybuilding, because I have certain theories
Mm-hmm.
of practice of what I believe builds muscle the quickest, the types of diets that I feel are the most effective for fat loss or for muscle gain. But the calories will always be different. Exercises might be different, whole 9 yards. And that's why I actually only keep a limited amount of clients at any one time, because I realized as I was going through the process of evolving my business, there was kind of a limit to the amount of people that I could train effectively and still be able to be there for each person.
Mm-hmm.
So I want a person to be able to email me and say, hey, Eric, I have a question about this exercise, or Eric, I have a question about this food. I want to be able to get back to them within 24 hours and give them an answer. I don't want them to get lost in my emails and like I never get back to them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to be really, really there for each one of my clients. Maybe I cost a little bit more than other people, but I think it's worth it because they're getting a real service from me. So I can train people anywhere in the world, which is, I have clients all over the world and all over the country. And I can make their experience really like as if they have me in their back pocket, because I will be there for them. They can text me, they can call me, they can, whatever they need to do, and I will be there for them. So this is kind of a real roundabout answer to your question. I just think that a lot of coaches out there are in this for the wrong reason. They don't have the right mindset, and they don't care enough. My clients, I care about the results as much as I've ever cared about my own. My clients are like my family. So when you sign on with me, you become part of that family, and I will work my hardest to get you those results. And that's just the way I operate.
So, Eric, it's one thing to be able to do a Zoom call like we're doing right now and to interact in that way with information and then follow up with, written information for people to study and then, go purchase the food and purchase the supplements and so forth. But what about when you go into the gym and that you're not there with that person and they don't really understand form or functionality for that matter? You've tried to teach them, what equipment to use and how to do it and how many reps. But how do you monitor that part of the program?
Well, it's a great question, because when I started out in this business, I was actually physically there with every person. I did in-home personal training where I'd go to people's homes and train them, or I train them in the gym. I do less of that now, although a lot of clients, they'll come from out of state or even another country, and they'll come and they'll spend a week with me in Vegas or whatever, and they'll let me train them to make sure that their form is right spot on, or the techniques that I've given them, that they're utilizing them properly, because I have a lot of very specialized techniques. I will tell people, if you're a complete 100% beginner, like you've never been in the gym before,
Yeah.
don't necessarily hire me for training, because I think it's important for them. They need somebody there. If I tell them to do a lat pull down or a squat or whatever, and they have no idea how to do it,
Right.
that's not going to serve their purpose.
Right.
So I do have some people that maybe because they have the funds to do, which is great, who will want me to put them on a program, and then they'll actually have a trainer. They'll be like, here's my program. This is what my coach gave me. Please take me through the workout until they learn. So I could suggest something like that. Sometimes I could say, have a personal trainer with you who you trust there to take you through my program and show you the proper form of every exercise. But if you don't have that, then I'll say you're probably better off working with a personal trainer one-on-one for at least a little while, a few months, learn
Yeah.
the basic exercises, the techniques, learn the names, get comfortable with the gym, then come
Yeah.
back to me and then allow me to properly program you. Although I could always work with anybody on diet, that's no problem. But in
Right.
terms of exercises, I want to make sure I don't want anybody getting hurt in the gym. And I
Right.
want everybody doing the exercises correctly because there's one thing I emphasize as a train. If anybody watches my videos training how I train myself and when I train
Hmm.
other people, I am a stickler for form. I want the form to be perfect. I want the form and form, let me just point out, the proper form from one person might not be the exact proper form for another person because everybody's body structure is a little bit different. This,
Right.
the clavicles, whether how tall they are. So there might be slightly different, techniques or form points that I have to point out for each person. But basically, I want everybody to use strict form and target the actual muscles that they're trying to work, not target joints or attachments or things that are going to cause injury. Make sure that you're targeting the muscles, you're utilizing the muscles to move the weight. You're not using momentum. You're not using, cheating form. I think that's very, very vital for everybody to learn right from the beginning. Let me just go back to before when I say, if you look at a lot of the pro bodybuilders out there, not all, but most of them, their form is not necessarily very good in every exercise. They're just so genetically gifted that they can almost just look at a weight and make progress. That's how gifted they are. That's not the case for most of us. The case is that we really, really need to use proper form on our exercises in order to properly target them.
I think it's really comforting for most of the people listening and watching that you're one of them. I mean, you are not were not a gifted bodybuilder mesomorph. You are
Nope.
of that. You are one of them, so they can really feel that you relate to their journey, their struggles, their challenges to get to improve. So I think that's a big gift that you have is your empathy and your patience, because you're not just someone that can walk into the gym and be muscular the next day. What about your number of clients? Yeah, I think you told me you have about 50 at one time. Is that still the case?
Yes, 50 is my where I limit myself. I can limit myself to 50 clients. If I keep getting inquiries after that, I'll put them on a waiting list generally. And
Yeah.
then it's normal for clients to drop out in and out. Like I have clients who will work with me for a competition, and then maybe they'll take a couple of months off, and then we'll start again. So usually people just can pop in and out, but I keep myself to 50. That seems to be the number for me that works the best. That allows me to actually get some sleep at night, and still like treat everybody personally, give them individualized attention whenever they need it. That seems to be the number that works well for me.
And then what's the charge? How do your fees work?
Well, they can always go to my website, which is www.broserbuilt.com.
Okay.
That has the fee structures on it, and then there's three levels of programs: the basic level, intermediate level, and then the advanced level. The advanced level is also like kind of contest preparation level, and there each level has obviously it costs more, but it just depends on how much accountability you want to have with me, how fast you want your progress to be, maybe what level you're at. Sometimes people will bounce back and forth between advanced and intermediate, depending on where they are in their season, if they're a competitor. Most people fall into the intermediate and advanced. Very few people do basic, but if you're limited on funds, and we all know the economy is tough, sometimes I will work with you, and sometimes I'll even make hybrid programs. If a person wants to do something that's sort of in between one of those programs, I'll come up with a pricing schedule for them that will give them a little bit more of an individual plan, because I just want everybody to get exactly what they want. I want everybody to get what they need from me. So, if somebody says to me, this is all the money that I can afford each month, this is my budget, I'll say, this is what I can do for you for that. I try to work with everybody if I can, being fair to myself, but also trying to work with people. So just go to my website and you can see the different, it's easier to look at it visually than for me to explain each one, because there's some that just are diet, there's some that's just training, there's some that's together in one package. And that's the best way to look at it. But I try to, like I said, I might be a little bit more money than some of but if you have a cookie cutter coach, it's all about, are you going to get any results for your money? You know, if you're
Yeah,
spending half the price, that's meaningless. So, you know,
this is customized. So, um, why do you have the AKA Merlin?
that is interesting. That so back in about 2014, I was living in California. I was living in Marina Del Rey, California.
Oh,
And
I lived there for a year, Eric.
oh, did you? Yeah. So I lived there for several years,
Oh,
and I trained at Gold's Gym Venice, and I was working with a professional bodybuilder who was getting ready for a competition, and I was programming his diet and his training. And one day he said to me, he said, "Hey, Eric, I'm going to Gold's Gym, and I'm being filmed by this guy named Dave Bourlet, who does filming, like he films bodybuilders getting ready, you know, doing their workouts and this and that. And it got put up on a platform from Muscular Development Magazine, which at the time was one of the biggest magazines, and they had a website. So those videos were very, very popular. He said, I'd like you to come, you know, and train me on camera. So I was like, oh, great. This sounds great. So I went to Gold's Gym and we trained on camera in front of, you know, we did this whole thing. And then the cameraman, Dave, came to me after shooting, and he said, he goes, "Wow, I really love what you did." He goes, "Your techniques and the things that you said." He's like, everybody needs to know about you. He's like, why are you not known by like everybody? And I said, well, I just haven't had a lot of video stuff. I said also because I was more in the realm of the drug free part of the sport, which is not as popular as the other part of the sport. So I said, you know, maybe that's why. He goes, well, I want you to be known. He said, will you do a show with me weekly where you
mhm.
train people and you teach people? And I was like, of course, it's great. And it was awesome. So in through that, I started doing that show with him, which was called Bros Are Built at the time. And and I became his coach. He was a bodybuilder also, and he said he kind of felt like he had reached his genetic potential. And I said, no, no, you haven't. I said, you just need to do things differently. He said, well, will you coach me? I said, yeah, I'll coach you. So I started coaching him, and I transformed his body into something that he just couldn't believe that he can actually ever achieve. And he said to me, he goes, you are like a magician. He's like, you are like a physique magician. He's like, I think, he's like, you're like Merlin the magician. And he called me Merlin,
Oh, that's so
and
cute.
it just literally stuck.
Mhm.
I used to walk into Gold's Gym all the time, and it wasn't hey Eric, it was hey Merlin, hey Merlin. And
Oh,
then eventually I even got I had a magazine column which was called Ask Merlin.
mm.
And then even now my supplement company Spellbound Nutrition is based on the Merlin name. And most of the products are called Merlin this, Merlin that. So it was I have to Dave Bourlet, thank you for giving me that nickname. It stuck and it's great.
That's what we call branding.
That's what
So
you got branding. I even have, and then people would start to like, even I don't know if you could see this. This says Coach Merlin on it. People
yeah.
started making me things, sending me Merlin dolls. I have over there Merlin T-shirts. It's a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Well, that says a lot right there. And, obviously that's a satisfied customer who gave you a brand, a gift of, a brand that is stuck with all these years that have passed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've trained with in what was his name? Carl. You probably know him. He took me over to Gold's Gym. That was my one foray into Gold's
Mm.
Gym. But I had trained at his house first. I have his name in my file, but it's
I
been
probably know who he is. I just don't
yeah.
remember.
I'll when I find it, I'll send it to you. It's his first name is Carl, and I just remember I went to his house in somewhere near Marina Del Rey, and trained with him there. And then he said, "Well, it's time for me to take you to the gym." So that's when we went to go. That was such an exciting experience, and of course,
Oh
I
yeah.
was you get a little bit intimidated when you're just a business executive who's yes interested in health and fitness and so forth, but you're surrounded by people that are doing this for a living.
Well, he certainly took you to the pinnacle of gyms at the time. Back then, that was the place to be for every bodybuilder, actors, everything. It was
I
great.
know, and there were a few of them there for sure. Not a few, a lot, but I was, he kept me very focused on his program, so I didn't get to really. But obviously, you feel the energy around you.
Uh-huh.
There was another guy I was supposed to train with. He was in San Diego, La Jolla, and he also very famous.
I used to live in La Jolla too.
Oh, what? So who is the big trainer there? I mean, big bodybuilder there. That
There was a lot of them. It depends on when. I mean, because I lived there actually from like 90, for about a year and a half, 96 to half of 97.
that
You know,
was about the time frame that I would have been there too.
there
So
was there was there
I'll,
was there was a lot of bodybuilders there still, so it could have been almost anybody.
yeah,
Really.
well, I'll find those names. It's just I have to dust off some cobwebs, but.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, so I loved Marina Del Rey. It was so much fun. I'm from San Francisco, but and I live in Marin County, which is a suburb of the city. And I had a year that because I'm a real estate developer, and so I had a year of some projects. So I rented a condo right on the water in Marina Del Rey. Right, it was
Beautiful.
Mariposa.
Mhm.
So that's if you're coming into Marina Del Rey, and you take that left right after the Cheesecake Factory, that street there, Via, whatever it's called.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know exactly where you were. I
Yeah,
lived, that's where I lived. I lived down that block.
yeah. So there were a lot of. Were you in a condo there or a house?
I was in an apartment. I was in a really, really nice apartment complex right on the water, right on the marina. It was beautiful.
Yeah, mine was called Esprit.
I know
Esprit.
exactly where you were. That's hilarious. I know exactly
Yeah,
where you were.
yeah, down at the end of that Mariposa. But yeah, so I think it was I think that was the name of. Maybe it wasn't. No, maybe it was just Via something or other.
It
But
was
yeah,
via something. It was via something. I know exactly where you were. Yeah, I
yeah.
know it's free. I would pass by it all the time.
Yeah, Esprit is a wonderful complex. So, and they had a gym, so I always worked out at their gym. I wish I had known you. If we were there at the same time, I could have had you, I could have trained you. But hey, people can come to Summerlin, where you are in suburb of Vegas, and they can train with you. Can you take them to your gym when they're there, or do you have a gym in your place?
No, I don't. I don't have a gym. I live in a house now, so it's not an apartment complex. But yeah, they can go with me to my gym and just pay whatever day fee or whatever's there. That's generally how it works.
Right.
Uh, and then I'll work with them. Yeah.
Yeah, because A4M is in December. And a lot of people in the watch our podcast are A4M members, or they are interested in going to A4M. So do you ever? I know Rob has a booth, Muscle and Fitness. Do you ever go to that meeting?
I've never been, but maybe I'll go this year. Maybe I'll go this
Yeah,
year.
I mean, let's ask Rob if you and I could go. I would come in a couple of days early and come see you. And my girlfriend lives in Summerlin, so I could
Oh,
probably stay with her a couple of days and get a chance to have your firsthand experiences rather than just this talking
sure.
heads. So let's move on to supplements and well, before supplements, diet. So give us a kind of a not. I know everything is customized, but give us kind of an outline profile of what people should do. And I know when you and I had our chat a couple months ago, we talked about this, and there were a number of things that you taught me in that meeting, that phone call about different proteins. So, for example, I told you I take whey protein, and I take grass-fed whey protein, and you said whey isolate was one of the best forms, and I had always heard there was a controversy about whey isolate. So I looked it up on Chat GBT just just to see what they had to say in the AI. And yes, they do say that whey isolate has some controversy because of who the people behind the product might be in terms of how they prepare it. So, why don't you give us a little tutorial on whey protein and by the way, everybody that's listening and watching today, please, if you take plant protein, listen to Eric because he does have a lot to say about the benefits of using whey over plant protein, particularly if you are not a vegan or a vegetarian and you can use whey. So I'm going to let you take over on the protein, but also on the diet.
Well, speaking specifically about whey, there's different forms of whey. There's whey concentrate. There's whey hydrolysate. There's whey isolate. Whey protein in of itself is a great protein for building muscle because it's very, very high in the branched chain amino acids, and branched chain amino acids, especially leucine. There's three different branched chain amino acids, and one of them, L-leucine, is probably the most powerful of the amino acids for building muscle, but it actually can also help burn fat as well. There's what you said before is accurate. This is not just whey protein. This goes for the entire supplement industry, no matter what you're talking about, creatine, beta alanine, vitamins, anything. You have to be very, very careful with who manufactures the product, because there are everything from raw materials are important, how pure the raw materials are, how good the manufacturing process is, how careful they are to make sure that there's no contaminants, drugs, heavy metals, anything in the product that can harm you. Um, Also, there are a lot of companies out there who, the label will say, using protein as an example, 20 grams per scoop. You take it to a lab, you find out there's 11 grams per scoop,
Right.
not 20 grams. So what's on the label is not in the bottle. That has come along a lot. Now, there are certain companies out there, some of the more major companies who've been around for a very long time. There's a reason why they've been around for a long time, because generally they have good manufacturing process, practices. You can actually look up on their websites or on the, to see, do they have, what is their manufacturing? Do they have, awards for their manufacturing? Do they meet label claims? Do they have lab testing? So
Right.
yes, the controversy is not with whether whey isolate is good. It's whether whether is it really whey isolate that's in there, because unfortunately there's a lot of shysters out there, which, it stinks.
Right.
They'll say, again, it's 90% whey isolate. You find out it's 10% whey isolate, and the rest of it's whey concentrate, which is not as pure as whey isolate.
Right.
So that's what you have to be careful with. As far as whey isolate as a protein, that's just the purest form of whey, basically, where they take out most of the sugar, especially lactose. A lot of
Right.
people are lactose intolerant, so it
Right.
reduces lactose down to very small levels, which shouldn't affect anybody who's lactose intolerant. It's going
Right.
to have the highest level of protein per scoop. And like I said, whey protein, especially around workouts, it's very, very, because it's absorbed very, very quickly. So when you're done with a workout, your body is, you've exhausted it. You've broken the muscle down. Your body wants nutrition very, very quickly. It wants carbohydrates and it wants protein very, very quickly. So you want to try to take in things that aren't going to require a lot of digestion, that are going to get into the bloodstream quickly, that are going to get into the cells quickly and start to cause recovery and repair. So whey isolate protein is excellent for this, because it is very rapidly absorbed, gets into the cells very, very quickly. It's got that high branched chain amino acid content, which is very important after workout. So that's why I highly recommend whey protein, especially after workouts. I
And
don't recommend whey protein before bed,
yeah.
because it's not long lasting.
Right.
So it's fast acting, but not long lasting. So there is where I would recommend a good casein protein.
And right.
And a casein protein, especially micellar casein, which is
Right.
the best form, that will actually it'll sort of go into the digestive tract and sort of like form like a bolus, like it'll be like kind of like a gel, and it slowly trickle feeds into the system, so that while you're asleep at night, you're kind of getting fed little bits of protein, amino acids as you're sleeping, and it'll go for a good 4 to 6 hours. So this will help to keep you recovering, repairing overnight to when you have a fast to wake up the next day. So after workouts, whey protein. If you're going to use a protein powder before bed, which is what I tend to do, a lot of people do it because you want to do something quick. A casein protein is best. So
What about
that's
the people who don't eat anything for the 3 hours before bedtime because that's what they've learned, that's what they've been taught, that you should go to bed with a stomach that's relatively digested your last meal.
well. Listen, if you're doing something like that and it's working for you and you're getting great results, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, I'm never going to argue with somebody that says, "Hey, like, for example, intermittent fasting." I don't believe in intermittent fasting. I believe in eating, just the way you're supposed to eat,
Mm-hmm.
small meals throughout the day. I don't believe it. But if somebody says to me, "Hey, Eric, look what I, accomplished with intermittent fasting," I'm not going to say to them, "Oh, you're wrong." If you're happy with what you're doing and it's working for you, God bless. Keep
But,
doing it.
but when you and I spoke, you did mention autophagy and mTOR, and that is important to part of the program. So can you address that for a moment?
But yeah, I mean, I think, there's a couple, I think actually, you need to, wake up in the morning and eat. I mean, your body is in a fasted state. It
Mm-hmm.
wants nutrients. And again, there's a little bit of a difference. Just to go back, I don't want to lose that point that you made about the 3 hours before bed. If your main goal is losing body fat, that's not such a bad thing. If your main goal is more to build muscle, I would recommend having something before you go to sleep,
Okay.
especially without carbs. You don't need carbs, but I would definitely recommend a protein like a casein protein
Mm-hmm.
before bed, because I think if you want to build muscle, you got to keep the muscle fed. So you should have something while you're sleeping. I think if you have 3 hours before you didn't eat before going to bed, and then maybe you sleep for another 7 to 8, that's too long of a period.
Mm-hmm.
Go without any nutrients, especially protein, if you're looking to build muscle. So let me just make that, make that point.
Fair.
Uh,
How do you feel about the semi-glutides and how they're affecting people's challenges for, trying to keep their muscle, but also trying to lose weight?
I mean, I think that there's some value to all of those things. These different peptides and fat loss agents and things like that. I just worry that a lot of people use these things as shortcuts,
Yeah.
instead of, I had sent you a picture in the email, where, I'm not saying you should flash up on the screen, but I mean, I sent you a picture of a guy who in the email that showed a 24 week transformation that I made with him. And I had a side by side picture of what he looked like before and what he looked like after. His name is Dave Swanson, who is now a spellbound athlete, I should say. And
Mm-hmm.
he was 210 pounds. And then when we finished 24 weeks later, he was 210 pounds and 20+% body fat. 24 weeks later, he came to Vegas to work with me a little bit. He was 165 pounds and about 5.5% body fat. 24
Wow.
weeks. He did not
Wow.
use he did not use any steroids. He did not use any growth hormones. He did not use any fat loss agents other than my vanishing formula. In fact, the only supplements he used was my 3 products from Spellbound Nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. He didn't even use like vitamins. He didn't use anything else, which I didn't even realize. He just said, "No, Eric, I just used your stuff." There was no drugs. There was no shortcuts. There was nothing. There was just hard work,
Mm-hmm.
dedication to my program. And
Mm-hmm.
he was, as we say in the industry, shredded. He was shredded. He'd take off his shirt and everybody in the gym, because he has that kind of, movie actor physique, like that cover model physique, not huge, massive, just
Yeah.
beautiful muscle shape. He was 46 years old. The first time I worked with him was 15 years ago. We did a transformation back then. He came
Yeah.
back to me now at age 46. We did this in 24 weeks. He's never been that low in body fat. My point is, yes, some of these drugs can be used as aids, but they do not replace hard work. They do not replace a good diet. You cannot just take a drug, I don't care how powerful it is, or a
Right.
steroid, and build muscle or burn fat without complete dedication to diet and training. You could do amazing things. When I was a pro bodybuilder, I turned a pro bodybuilder drug free. Again, I'm not making I work with plenty of people who use enhancements. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
against it. That's a wholly different thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when I turned pro, I did it as drug, and nobody thought that I did that drug free. Nobody believed me until I started taking drug tests and putting them out there and going, "Look, I'll pass every single one. You can drug test me anytime you want. And if I fail, I'll pay for it." So, I mean, you could do amazing things. People forget there's nothing more powerful than food and training and rest. And there are some
Mm-hmm.
really good supplements out there. There's a lot of crap out there, but there's some really good supplements out there that really, really work. You can do amazing things. You do not need to use any of these drugs. Like I said, they can be an aid, but don't use them as a crutch.
So let's talk about Spellbound, because that I didn't give you a plug earlier, but I want everybody to know that that is your company, or you are part of that company. You have a partner,
I have a
right?
partner. Yeah, I have a partner in the company.
In Michigan, I think you told me.
It's
So,
in Billings, Montana, and he's actually he actually owns the manufacturing facility that manufactures the products.
and you said he's one of the best in the world as far
His
as
manufacturing facility, going back to what I said before about making sure your products have the best raw materials, the best testing,
Yeah.
His manufacturing facility makes 100% sure that he only accepts, he tests every raw material that comes in. If there's anything in it that he doesn't like, it's out. He
Yeah.
tests the products from point A to point Z multiple times to make sure there is no contaminants, heavy metals, drugs, anything in the product that should not be in there. And he makes sure that everything will either meet or exceed label claims so that you are sure that you are getting a product that is the purest, highest quality available. And that is why I went to him. His name is Dr. Jeff Galini. He owns All American Pharmaceutical. He works with a lot of companies. Him and I have known each other for many, many years. And we started this line together because I wanted to make sure that this was going to be the highest quality available.
So tell us about the three products that your superstar took that allowed him to get from 20% to 5% in 24 weeks.
Yes. So the first product, which is like our flagship product is called Power Potion. And that is what I call, a lot of people call them pre-workouts. I like to call it a workout amplifier.
Okay, hold on. I'm writing this down because I know I need to do this when we get off. I want to order from you. So go ahead.
Power Potion. Well, I could always email you too. I could always email you
That's
too.
true. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Just keep
I'll
talking.
email you. I'll email you. You see the website. You can go and I'll give you my code.
Yeah.
So Power Potion is the workout amplification formula. That product is put together. Here's the problem with a lot of pre-workout formulas. A lot of pre-workout formulas, generally people, they call them pump formulas. So you want to go into the gym and you want as much blood flow to the muscle as possible. And they will put ingredients in there that will help facilitate that. However, what they'll also put in there is a bunch of stimulants because they want people to like get amped up and crazy. They want to feel it.
Yeah.
The problem is that stimulants and pump products, pump ingredients work against each other. So a stimulant is a vasoconstrictor. It closes the blood vessels.
Right.
The pump products will open the veins up. So they're vasodilators. So you're taking two things that are going to work against each other. So you're going to basically not nearly as good of a pump as you should. Now, during workouts, I think that I don't personally, if you like to be amped up and sweating and feeling crazy and that's your thing, well, then go ahead and take a product. My product does not have any stimulants in it. I just put in the ingredients that will support strength, will support muscular endurance, that will actually support, that's branched chain amino acids in there, so it'll support the muscles. So as they're getting broken down, they're still being refed, so they're not getting broken down as much. And then, of course, we have the ingredients in there that are going to help facilitate. We have multiple ingredients that are going to help to facilitate that pump because we want as much blood and nutrients in the muscle as possible while we train it. A lot of people think that the pump is just a nice transient thing and it's just like fun to have a pump because you feel big and you feel good. But actually, the pump is very, very important because the more blood and nutrients that you bring into the muscle while you're training it, it's actually expanding the cells. And when you expand the cells and the cells get expanded out, that's a signal to the body that like they're going to tear or something's going to happen. And it signals the body to facilitate muscle growth. So it's actually very, very important to have that major muscle pump during every single workout. So this product is basically going to help you, and it gives you tremendous focus. There's also ingredients in there that will give you focus, not a stimulant, but focus, mental acuity, focus, drive. Most people who take this product tell me that when they start to feel it kick in, that they just feel like almost like they're able to shut everything out and just focus so strongly on every rep and every set, which is what I wanted. I don't want that crazy feeling like you have the flu, you're sweating, you feel like you're bouncing off the walls. Also, a problem with a lot of those products is that in the middle of the workout, you get a crash. You don't get any crash with Power Potion. So I think it's a very, very well put together formula that Dr. Jeff Galini and I put together. Everybody absolutely loves it. The flavors right now, there's two flavors. There's pink lemonade and there's an orange flavor, blood orange. The flavors are fantastic. They taste delicious. So that they're easy to drink, you want to drink them, and they mix fantastic. So that's the first product.
So just before you move on, what are those wonderful ingredients? If you just give us a few, just to tease us a little.
So we have the branched chain amino acids. We have beta alanine. We have citrulline in there, which is great for pump. We have crealkaline, which is a form of creatine that causes less bloating in the stomach. We have um, pomegranate, we have beetroot, we
Hmm.
have all these different ingredients that help to, like I said, that are vasodilators. It's just such a great all around formula, and you feel good on it. And like I said, it just gives you a great workout from beginning to end.
Hmm.
And if anybody wants to, email me or whatever, bodyfx2 at AOL.com, you can give that too. I can answer questions more specifically. You can go to the website.
Okay, what was that again for emailing you?
My email is body, BODY, the
Yeah,
letter F, the letter X, the numeral
yeah,
2 at
yeah,
AOL.com.
at AOL.com. So body, F is in Frank, X is in X-ray 2 at AOL.com.
Right.
Okay,
And you
there's
can
a,
contact me there for anything, for online training or, whatever it is that you want to ask.
right,
So
exactly. I think, I mean, obviously I have that, but I want our viewers to have it. Okay, so that's the power potion. What's the next one?
the next one is I'm going to go to the recovery formula, which is the post-workout formula, which is sort of like something I've worked with a lot of supplement companies in my career, all great supplement companies, all had great products, all products that I believed in. One product that I wanted to see, which I never really saw, was a really, really good recovery formula. Something that I believed would, as you want to take as soon as the workout is over, before you even get to your food, that will help to facilitate not only recovery from the workout, but also, you mentioned it before, stimulate the mTOR pathway
Hmm.
to muscle growth, which is our most powerful pathway.
Right.
When you'll stimulate mTOR through training, but if you want to push that even further, you can take certain ingredients, a formula that will stimulate the mTOR pathway, which is going to basically increase um, protein synthesis and
Hmm.
decrease protein breakdown. When the balance between protein synthesis and protein breakdown is way higher on the synthesis level than breakdown, you are building muscle, and that's what we want to facilitate.
Hmm.
And like I said, the workout will help to stimulate this, but then these ingredients will help to push that further. So the three main ingredients that we have in what is called the legendary recovery, or Merlin's legendary recovery, is something called mediator, which is phosphatidic acid, which has been shown in studies to stimulate the mTOR pathway. We have
Hmm.
L-leucine, which has been shown in a zillion studies to be the most powerful branched chain amino acid, and
Hmm.
again, stimulates the mTOR pathway. Excuse
Hmm.
me. And then we have
Hmm.
something called HBM, which also, again, stimulates the mTOR pathway. But the good thing about these three ingredients is they all stimulate it from slightly different pathways themselves. So in other
Hmm.
words, you're getting like a triple, you're almost getting an exponential increase in the mTOR pathway facilitation through these three ingredients. So that's why I wanted to include all three, because I want this to give you that maximum facilitation, and I keep using that word over and over, of the
Right.
mTOR pathway.
Okay.
Again, I also include crealkaline in here because when you are done with your workout, you have basically exhausted your creatine levels.
Yeah.
And creatine, of course, will become, through a process in the body, will become ATP, and ATP helps to fuel the muscle. So we want to replace the creatine.
Yeah.
I also have L-carnitine, L-tartrate, which
Yeah.
is not only a good fat burner, but it also does something very interesting. It helps to upregulate anabolic receptors in muscle cells, which
Hmm.
tend to downgrade during training. So this will help when you upregulate the anabolic receptors. It just means that your body's going to be more sensitive to bringing on muscle growth. And so we want to have them always at peak levels. There's also theanine, which is going to help you to just relax, start to bring cortisol levels down.
Hmm.
So what we want to do, and what we want to do after a workout, is we want to give your body the ability to recover. So we want the cortisol levels to come down, which are going to be elevated from training.
Hmm.
We want to stimulate the mTOR pathway. We want to upregulate the anabolic receptors. We want to replace the creatine. And again, creatine also does other things. It lowers myostatin. Myostatin is in the body, and it will actually limit the amount of muscle growth. It puts a halt on muscle growth. So if we can lower myostatin, it gives your body to build more muscle. It also
Yeah.
increases IGF-1 levels. IGF-1 is insulin growth factor 1, which is one
Yeah.
of the most anabolic hormones in the body.
Yeah.
It'll help stimulate that. So it's a really, really complete formula for post-workout recovery, and making the workout that you just did more effective. So fantastic. That's what I've always wanted on the market. I love this stuff. Everybody who's taken it tells me the same thing. They said after about a week of taking it, they start to get reduced muscle soreness. They start to get quicker recovery from one workout to the next, so that they feel better the next day. They feel more recovered. They see their muscles getting fuller, more developed very, very quickly. And then they tell me if they go off of it, they kind of see the reverse. So it really is an effective formula. Again, another 2 amazing flavors. One of them is a grape flavor, grape splash. The other one is a tropical punch. They are so good that sometimes people tell me that they just, even though they're not supposed to take it at any other time than after a workout, they'll sometimes just mix a glass during the day and put ice in it and drink it because they love the taste so much. So another great formula, especially that pump, the pre-workout and the post-workout, those 2 formulas together, what a great way to surround your workouts.
And then they just flagged me that we've run out of time, but you said there was a third one. Is that the fat burner?
The fat burner vanishing formula helps to really, really quickly, has an ingredient there called Lyzyme 5, which is patented by All American Pharmaceutical and Jeff Galini. Yeah. That is the main ingredient, and it will pull the fat out of the cells, push it into the bloodstream so that you can use it as energy. And then, of course, there's a bunch of supporting ingredients in there that helps to push those fat and make them used for energy. But that is an amazing formula. There's not high stimulants in it. You just take 3 capsules in the morning and you are good to go. Great focus, great energy. People use it before cardio in the morning. Another fantastic formula. And again, Dave used that for his transformation all throughout. And obviously it worked.
Well, okay, everybody. So now you have a program that is so simple. Just check out the website, and this is a package. You can buy it as a bundle, I assume, the 3 on your website, correct? So
yes.
Okay. So and then you said you
that's on that website is www.spellbound-nutrition.com. Spellbound-nutrition.com. Okay, we're gonna. My assistant will flash these on the screen when he edits the podcast. So www.spellbound-nutrition.com. Correct.
All right. Well, Eric, you've been great. I wish we had more time. I wanted to go into the nutrition part.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, so we can always do part 2. You know, very often, just so you know, we've been doing this for 5 years. And very often, we usually let a year go by because we're so booked. But we have now in 2025, we have several repeat guests who came on like 2 years ago. And so you're going to be on our list, even though I might want to do you sooner, but we'll try to do something in December where I come and we meet each other in person and I'll train with you.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
And then I'll get from you, if you send me the how to get this product with your code, I'll go ahead and get that today. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm sure you did. Okay, good. All right. Well, very good. I look forward to meeting you someday soon, and maybe early December before A4M.
Sounds great. And I thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.